Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and it's my pleasure to rise on the matter of public importance today, and it's incredibly important for the people of Victoria. And I noticed the member for Ferntree Gully did start his contribution by saying that this is not the most important thing in the state at the moment, and that doesn't mean it's not important. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. Obviously, this world, this country and this state is going through a pandemic, and we have a plethora of people working their tails off to keep us safe. But I won't go too far on that because that's another speech, and I actually thought the member for Ferntree Gully might have brought the wrong one for the first 2 minutes, but he did come back to it. So, look, this government believes in the future of our state, and we understand that infrastructure is a big part of that. And it is an expensive part of that. And you can see that by sequential budgets where we've had incredibly large investments in infrastructure. And when I talk to people in my patch about this government and the things we've done as a government, and me in the last 2 years and the rest of my colleagues for the 4 years before that, the one thing that comes back over and over again is you're doing a lot of work. And as the member for Cranbourne rightly said, there's a lot of high vis going on. And this builds confidence. This builds confidence for people that we are going in the right direction. And confidence is very important. Obviously, the last 12 months have shaken confidence. A worldwide pandemic shakes confidence. And so continuing with the big build, continuing with the belief in Victoria's recovery and rebuilding is confidence. And yes, we do that at the same time as we are dealing with this pandemic. I think back to December 1981, and a special train service took passengers on the first journey around Melbourne's city circle, the City Loop. And although only Museum Station, which is now called Melbourne Central, of course, mind you, I still call it Museum Station. I'm sure, Deputy Speaker, you are way too young to think that it'd be called anything like that. But that was the only operational station at that time. But it was heralded as the beginning of a new era and changing the way people travel around the CBD. And even though I was, I think, Year 7 at the time, I knew all about the City Loop. It was a big deal. And it was a big deal, and I remember in my later years travelling on the station, you know, the station's the first time, we all take it for granted now. But it was a big deal then. It was belief from, I think it was Premier Kane at the day who got all that rolling. And it's another Labor build. Now, nearly 4 decades later, we're in the middle of the Metro Tunnel being dug, which is going to be a massive boost for this state. But we don't stop there. And obviously around our patch in the east, we've got the suburban rail loop, which we are gearing up for construction. And works have been beginning. Now, there are some who say it's not real, it's never coming, you know, the naysayers. And look, happy to prove you wrong. Watch the space, okay? Good, I'm glad that the member is going to watch the space because we will prove you wrong. And as the Premier has said, we won't finish that project. That project will take a long time, but we'll get it started. And my challenge to the opposition is get on board, because not backing it would be at your peril. Now, we are Australia's fastest growing city, and a project such as the suburban rail loop and the investment it attracts gives a unique opportunity to plan for services, amenity and infrastructure Melbourne will need outside the CBD to maintain its reputation as one of the world's most livable cities. And I think there was an article in, I can't remember the paper now, but you could go check Facebook, but apparently that's not there anymore. But there was an article about how we will be getting an influx of people investing in property at the moment because of the way this country has dealt with the pandemic, amongst other things. So we are still a growing city, and we'll be a growing city as we get over this pandemic, as vaccinations go through. The rail loop does more than just get people from Cheltenham to Box Hill in its first phase. Because what it does is also make other transport options available for those that don't even live inside that corridor. Now, I'm lucky in our seat in Mount Waverley, we are smack bang in the middle of it. It's a very exciting thing for us. But the member for Ferntree Gully also said he doesn't see how it benefits his people in Ferntree Gully. Well, I grew up in Ferntree Gully, as he well knows. I can tell him, if I went to Monash Uni, or Deakin, as I did go to, and I lived in the Gully, I could have got on a train at Boronia or Basie or Ferntree Gully, and I could have got off at Box Hill and swapped. And then I'd end up at Deakin, or I'd go to Monash. Now, in phase 2, when we go from Box Hill to around towards the airport, then my sister, who spent 4 or 5 years driving from Ferntree Gully to Latrobe every day, could get on at the same stations at Basie or Boronia, change at Box Hill and get off at Latrobe. That's 4 years of one person not being on the roads. That's what we're providing, not for me and not for my sister, that's what we're providing for my kids and the next generation. And yes, it's going to take time to build, and it's going to take a lot of money to build. But just like the City Loop back in 1981, not until it's there will everyone understand the benefits of it. And then 30, 40 years later, we'll all be taking it for granted. So we have the arguments now, and in 30, 40 years, all the arguments we've forgotten. It'll be a part of Melbourne that is just taken for granted, like the London Underground or Tokyo or any of the other grown-up cities in the world that have underground suburban networks that marry with their others. $2.2 billion is a lot of money, but that's what we're putting into the initial and early works on stage 1 of this project in the state budget. And this is a huge boost for every area along the road, but as I said, it will also lay this starting step for the rest of Greater Melbourne. Now, I'm running out of time and I haven't even got past the first page of my notes because I get a bit passionate about the old rail loop. But I also want to quickly talk about our level crossings. Now, as I've said before in this House, the Mount Waverley district doesn't have level crossings. We've had Skyrail at Blackburn Road and Huntingdale Road since 1964, and I don't think we've ever complained about it. But what we do benefit from is all of the other level crossing removals, especially the one in Clayton. And I relay this story time and time again to people that I spoke to the CEO at Monash Hospital about 18 months ago or so, and I said, look, the level crossings, obviously people like them, what does it mean for you? And his short answer was, well, Matt, we're not delivering babies in ambulances anymore. And so all of this infrastructure, whether it be suburban rail loop, level crossings, the North East Link, which, if you're in my part of town and you've ever tried to get to Fawkner, it's actually quicker for me in Mount Waverley to go all the way to the Western Ring Road and turn back than it is to go up the back way through Camberwell and maybe up Sydney Road. The North East Link, another fantastic project, will completely change that. These projects set this state up for decades to come. And just like our investments in early childhood and education and health and everything else we do, it's an investment in the people of Victoria, and it's not just us, And it's not just my kids, but it's theirs as well.